What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Cass here from the Bye Week Podcast, and we are here with Valente, aka I Sell for Subs, from the Bye
Yo,
Week Podcast, and we're kind of missing somebody today, but I don't know if we want to really go into that, but we're
yeah.
gonna.
Long story short, this wasn't a full commitment before. Well, we won't go further than that.
But we have some topics to talk about today, some WWE stuff. I know we started off with WWE last time. That's not typically going to be the way we go. We normally are not going to use the same subjects back to back to start off the show, but we're going to go because there's a lot of WWE stuff to talk about, of wrestling in general to talk about. Then we're going to talk about the UFC event that just happened. UFC, what's the random number that they use because they don't do names?
No, this is a fight night, so this is like their normal every Saturday fight card.
Oh, okay. And then
That's next week.
and then we have some Madden stuff. We're going to talk about NFL stuff because I
Cool.
So we're gonna get in first to some certain topics. We're gonna dive into the predictions for. I'm gonna dive into the predictions for Ric Flair's last match because Valente is not as big into like the indie scene as I am. So a lot of those people he wouldn't really know. But then,
We're starting with the Max Dupree situation first.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We're gonna start out with the Max Dupree situation, and then I want to talk about a little bit about Vince's retirement.
Yeah, let's go in chronological order.
Okay. So, as reported, all this is subject to change. As reported, there was some heat backstage because apparently Max Dupree, aka LA Knight, aka Eli Drake, who everybody knows, his biggest thing is he knows how good he is. Like that was a problem when he was in Impact. He knows how good he is, and he wants to be treated as he knows how good he is. And apparently there was some heat backstage because of how he is, like as a person, the real life person that portrays the character of Max Dupree slash LA Knight. So apparently they have replaced him as the head like face of Maximum Male Models, and they debuted the new head focal point, Maxine Dupree, who was I forgot her name, but she was a member of the Robert Stone brand in NXT, and they've called her up. She really wasn't a wrestler like as the thing. She was more of like in the entourage of the Robert Stone brand on NXT. So she's been called up. She's only been in NXT probably about 3-4 months. But what I'm thinking is they're not going to use her as like a wrestler per se. She's going to be more of like what Max was as the like in face version
On screen like manager, like the
on
Paul Heyman.
on screen manager of the Maximum Male Models. And I actually think a female in general, would fit this gimmick a lot more personally.
Yeah, you would think that the dude's not hungry to make other dudes look sexy. I'm just saying.
I think this overall, I think this fits a much more of a female gimmick. I've seen some people who think that they don't, because LA was such a good talker, that they thought that maybe he could have got the gimmick over, and they're worried maybe because she's not as polished as he is, maybe she can't get the gimmick as over as much. But we're just gonna have to see. I actually thought her promo on SmackDown when she introduced herself was actually really good. I think she thought she used like sexual tension enough for the gimmick, which is this, in my opinion,
Relate the juices of your um
guilty pleasures.
what is guilty pleasures.
I actually think this is going to be the first TV-14 gimmick that we see. And I think this is the first TV-14 gimmick that we saw so far.
They just haven't took it there yet.
I think this could be a very good gimmick. I think a lot of people talk about Orlando Jordan when he was in TNA and how they were really eccentric with his gimmick to the point where he was playing a. And I know this is going to be news to you, Valente. You're not really big into this, but some of the viewers that might watch this might be. Um, Orlando Jordan was massive as like a gay model character in TNA in the early 2000s and late 2000s.
Yeah.
So there's like an iconic video of like him spraying lotion on himself, and it looks really like suspect.
Okay, okay.
And I feel like that's how they could go with this gimmick, as like making it very much sexualized, like they did with Jordan's gimmick in TNA in their late 2000s. I feel
Yeah,
like they could go very sexual into it because it didn't work for Orlando Jordan, but that's also because I felt like, and this has even came out too, he wasn't comfortable portraying that. From what I've seen, and I don't know if this is 100%, from what I've seen, it looks like Mason Mansoor are all in on trying to make this gimmick work because they weren't getting TV time before that. They look like they're all in to try to get this to work. So,
yeah. And you know what? I just noticed something.
but
Um, I'm reading up on that right now. I was mentioning this before the podcast. I said maybe this is a move that the new management is making, but apparently this is actually Vince McMahon's decision.
yes, this was a lot of people are saying as this was Vince McMahon's last decision as an executive. He made this like a couple of weeks. He made this like a couple of days before he decided to retire. Which is actually this is a perfect segue into our next segment where we're going to talk about Vince's retirement and how that could affect the WWE going forward. I think a lot of people got to understand.
Everyone's about to live their fantasy of everyone's about to live their fantasy with Vince will be WWE will be better when Vince is gone. You're about to live that. So
A lot of people think about like have thought for years, especially with the success of NXT in the golden years, and it's gonna be interesting to see what NXT 2.0 looks like now that Vince isn't like control behind the scenes. But the thing with that is he hasn't really been control behind the scenes for a couple of weeks now, a couple of months even. Because from what I've heard, Sean's been the main guy leading creative in NXT 2.0, and
for Michaels.
yeah, the I've heard he's been the main guy leading creative down there in NXT 2.0, and that's why we've really seen some good matches. Cameron Grimes and Braun Breaker. They just introduced um what is his name? It's JD McDonough in NXT 2.0, but he was something else. Jordan Devlin. He was Jordan Devlin in NXT UK, but he's now JD McDonough in NXT 2.0, and he's now the
Oh
number
boy,
one.
A Kid.
Now, oh, that's another thing. They added in they took a kid from NXT UK and brought him in as Axiom, which I think is a tremendous money making gimmick. I feel like you can make a lot of money selling like the merch for a guy like that, especially with like the success of superhero movies, TV shows and stuff nowadays. That's a really good gimmick. And I'm not saying that he's got world champion material. Maybe in NXT I could see that, but on the main roster, he could be a solid piece of a growing mid card in the future.
I feel like that's good marketing outside the out like an outside the box marketing system type thing. Because you wouldn't think that. I mean, the guy's probably not gonna be that poppin' as like a wrestler, but if you think of him as like a superhero, then that'd probably be like a nice outside of the box like merchandise marketing way
No, because
to go.
if you take the mask away, A Kid's just like your normal strike technician wrestler. He's not. There's nothing real unique about him. He's a good worker, but there's nothing real unique about him. But you give him a good gimmick like Axiom, and then you have something he can work off of. We don't know how it's going to work. He's really, I think, only had one match on NXT 2.0. One thing I do
Mm.
like is the fact that he's kept all of his moves. Um, I forget what it was called in NXT UK, but he still has the running super kick, like the jumping one-legged super kick. That's still cool. I think that's an awesome move.
Hmm.
I'd like to see him add some of a.
Yaming's contagious. Did you just yawn?
Mm-mm.
I did too.
But anyway, I'd like to see him add more of like a high flying game to his, a more high flying aspect to his game. Because his whole gimmick is he's like super fast, super intelligent stuff. I'd like to see him add more high flying stuff to his game. But
Mm-hmm. I just do it. I personally think that he can do it. He's got size to do it.
yeah, he's not a big guy at all. But
Yeah.
interestingly enough, I wanted to talk about this. And I hope we get into this more around WWE 2K23 season. I actually bringing up A Kid is perfect for me to bring this up. Um, I have a wish list item for next year's game. Is I want the Heritage Cup in the game, and you might be confused on what that is. So NXT 2.0, I mean NXT UK doesn't have what you would consider your normal mid card championship. They have a trophy that's defended in 3 rounds, and it's basically a 2 out of 3 falls match, but it's separated into rounds,
Yeah.
and it's kind of similar of Impact's Grand Championships that they had around like 2015, 2016, like through 2018. Kind of similar about that. A lot of people will remember that because that was the championship Cody had when Cody was in Impact after he got released from WWE. A lot of people will remember that. Um, but yeah, that's Vince's retirement covered. I don't think we'll see major stuff just change. Like for example, I don't think we'll just see just a reset button hit after SummerSlam. I don't think we'll see that. I think it'll take a couple of months, maybe even 6 months to a year, till we see massive like jumps. Like I don't see them using as much older talent with guys like Triple H leading creative now.
Hmm.
But the problem with that also is Triple H doesn't really have a lot of his guys around him anymore. Regal was his main right hand man, but he signed to AEW. But the thing with Regal signed with AEW is Regal's not on a long term deal. And I think he might have mentioned because he wanted to have his options open in case something like this did happen, in case of like a Vince retirement. Because if I'm not wrong, I think I read something that this has been something Vince had been thinking about for like the last 4 or 5 years. So,
I mean, yeah, he's getting to that age. So I mean,
so I think Regal didn't sign. I think Regal might have signed like a 6 month, 1 year contract. I don't think it was nothing major at all. But if Regal does go back to
Stephanie's interim COO, right? CEO.
Stephanie and Khan are co-CEOs.
Interim though, or are they like actually CEOs,
They're
like
they're full
officially?
CEOs. They're full CEOs. They're the co-CEOs.
Well then,
And
it's gonna
triple
have to take some like big like
triple
company meeting to change that.
and then Triple H is the head of talent relations and creative.
EVP. Yep. John, what does that? What does that leave John Laurinaitis though?
John Laurinaitis is fired. He had to step away. That's the role Triple H
Ooh.
has now. Is the head of talent
Okay.
relations. So Triple H can hire and fire whoever he wants.
You know what I just realized? That opens a lot more like opportunity for
That
these
that opens a lot
AEW guys to sign back and shit like
that
that.
opens a lot of doors for people that said they wouldn't go back to WWE until somebody else was running it. That opens a lot of doors for that.
You
The
you want to know one name that comes to my head instantly?
who
Moxley.
that's because the only problem with that is Moxley had massive problems with some of the legends in WWE, like Austin. He had problems with Brock. Brock didn't want to work with him at WrestleMania. Like, have you ever heard that story? I could tell that story.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Moxley had this idea of like a 10, 15 minute hardcore match, like a massive, like back in the day hardcore match, right? And he was just going to have
Yeah.
Brock absolutely beat the hell out of him. I think they had like no disqualification match at like WrestleMania like 33, 32, 34, one of the
32. Yeah, 32.
and they just like and Moxley had this idea of it being an actually good match. He didn't have an idea of beating Brock or anything. He just wanted Brock the match to go long. And if I'm not wrong, the match went like 5, 6, 7 minutes, and Brock just beat the hell out of him the whole time. And
I'll look
Mox
it up for you real quick.
and
Um,
Moxley had the idea of it actually being like a longer match and like more weapons used and stuff like that. And like the thing was, even like Vince and everybody had signed up on it. It's just the fact that Brock didn't want to do it.
see. WrestleMania 32. Results. Brock Lesnar, 13 minutes.
Yeah, it went 13 minutes, and if I'm not wrong, the only weapons that yeah, because remember that whole lead up, he had been given stuff like the barbed wire bat from Mick Foley, the chainsaw from Terry Funk,
Yeah,
a
like he's
bunch
been given shit from like the legends and stuff.
Yeah, and then if I'm not wrong, the only thing that was used was like kendo sticks and steel chairs, and
Yeah.
like when I say Moxley had the idea of like a hardcore match, I'm talking about like barbed wire and shit like that. And I don't feel like Brock would have been down for that.
I
So
don't feel like WWE would have been down with that either. I mean, they've done shit like that in the past, like tax and stuff.
Moxley got him to do it in the Ambrose Asylum with Jericho.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Didn't Jericho go through the stuff too?
Yeah, no, just Jericho did. Moxley didn't go through the tax.
Yeah, he did. Because remember, it's like a back suplex or like a dirty deed. So he
Well,
did
yeah,
like a dirty
he
deeds, like a back
well,
suplex, and he
yeah,
landed in some
he
of them.
did go through. He went through the tax, but like voluntarily went through the tax.
Yeah. But
Okay.
I guess I see what you're saying. Brock was trying to like have him like he was trying to have Brock like put him through shit,
Yeah.
and Brock didn't want to do that.
No, it was more of the fact that Brock didn't want Dean to have any offense, is what I've heard.
Oh,
So
okay.
Brock
That
wasn't.
sounds more like Brock.
Brock was keen to have Ambrose not have any offense because apparently Brock got real pissed over the Stone Cold interview, or that might have been before that or something. I'm not really sure, but Brock was real pissed about Moxley over something, and he didn't want to work with him. Or
Well,
it might have been no, it was card placement. He was pissed about where the match was on the card because him and Brock were talking about really having a good match, and then his match got moved somewhere on the card, and then Brock didn't want to do all the shit that him and Moxley had agreed on doing for the match. He had told
yeah.
Moxley like because their match was so low on the card that he didn't want to do all that shit. There was no reason. All right, so we can dive
Wait, I have
into.
a question. I'm actually looking at this WrestleMania the card right now. Was the stipulation if Undertaker lost to Shane McMahon, he couldn't compete at WrestleMania ever again?
I don't think so.
Look, look, it says Hell in a Cell match. Had a McMahon won, Undertaker would have no longer competed at WrestleMania.
Damn.
Did you know anything about that?
No.
I didn't either. I think that was it. Give you one last chance to give you a fucking beating.
All right,
Such good
so
shit.
I've got the card for I've got the card um
SummerSlam.
for Ric Flair's last match. If we want to dive into that, I'll dive
No, we're
into.
doing SummerSlam first.
Oh, you want to do SummerSlam first? Okay.
Yeah, let's go in order.
All right. Barring because I do believe that they're still going to do the Nakamura versus Walter match at SummerSlam because they're building to that. I feel like that'll be
Mhm.
announced soon. So we're gonna act like that's there. So anyway,
Um,
okay, here we go. Here's the card. Um, Pat McAfee and Happy Corbin. So Corbin and there's actually some good history here, and that you might not know about Valente, but
Something
apparently,
to do with the NFL, right?
yeah, apparently Corbin and McAfee were rookies the same
Together.
year.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Weren't they roommates?
they were roommates at training camp in Indianapolis. Yeah, and then Corbin would go on to get fired. I mean, released by the Colts, and would end up going to Arizona and having a pretty good like backup career for himself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so being that they use
Pat
McAfee as
McAfee versus Corbin.
yeah, being that they use McAfee as more of a draw, I feel like he's more the guy to win this match.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna let the celebrity lose. So,
But then again, he has to lose eventually. He might lose this match, but
nah, I think Happy Corbin's going back down to bum ass Baron Corbin now. I
the
think
way
they're
they've been
slowly pushing him back down to bum ass Baron Corbin.
the way they've been using him like running from Pat makes me seem like he's gonna lose this match.
Yeah. Who, Pat or
Yeah, they have
Pat's gonna
Pat.
lose the match?
No, Pat. I mean, Corbin. They've had like Corbin running away and shit. I feel like he could lose this.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think Corbin wins this.
all right. So I'm going with McAfee. So next we got Rollins and Riddle. Rollins has taken so many losses lately. He can't lose this match. He took all the losses to Cody, and then he's taken losses to I want to say he lost a match to Riddle on Raw or SmackDown. He can't lose this match.
Help me out here. I don't know what's going on with this storyline. Like, what's the significance of this match? I don't know.
So Rollins has been like considerably fucking with like Riddle over the fact that Orton's hurt and that Riddle's piggybacking off of Orton using all of his moves and shit.
Hmm.
That's what I've got, and the fact that like Owens and Rollins have been fucking with Riddle over the fact that Orton's hurt and shit. So I'm going Rollins because the fact I don't think Rollins can eat another defeat, and plus I feel like they're playing into something because Riddle's lost a good amount of matches since Orton's got hurt. I feel like they might be playing into something where Riddle's going to end up turning on Randy when Randy comes back.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. I changed my pick. I'm going with Rollins now. Yeah. You
All right.
opened my eyes.
The next match
You're
is
a
the Miz.
visionary.
The next match is the Miz versus Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
100% Logan Paul.
They're not letting the celebrity lose.
Well, the thing is none of these guys are celebrities anymore because Pat's under contract, and so is Logan under like full wrestling contracts.
Yeah, but Logan's still a celebrity though.
Yeah,
Don't forget, he was
Lo-
celebrity before he was wrestler.
Logan's gonna win this match.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been beating up on Ciampa and Miz, so I mean, I believe he can.
I'd like to see something. I think it's not impossible if you have like an interaction between like Jake and Champa. I feel like that could be cool, but
Logan Paul and Jake Paul versus The Miz and Ciampa at Survivor Series.
no, they're building up to. Um, I was gonna mention this earlier, but they've had Corey and Corbin like very much working together during this whole McAfee and Corbin rivalry. They're building up to Corbin and Graves and McAfee at Survivor Series.
Raw versus SmackDown, commentator versus commentator. Who will win?
I don't know why they're
I
doing
think
that.
Corey wins that.
I hope so. That would be the win I'd hope Corey could get. I hope so.
All right.
Then we got Bobby Lashley versus Theory. I actually have an idea for this. I think it would be cool to have Theory walk out of SummerSlam with all three championships.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that'd be sick. You have
I
like a
don't think
Seth
it'll
Rollins.
happen though.
No, I don't think it would happen. But you have like a well, we thought the same thing when Rollins fought Cena for the U.S. Championship. We didn't think he was going to walk out with all three belts, and he did.
Buddy, we weren't friends whenever Rollins and Cena
We were friends when
happened.
Rollins and Cena had the U.S. Championship match. That
That
was
happened.
20.
That happened in SummerSlam 2015. I never got a PS4 until December of 2015. So we weren't friends until like we weren't even friends till October because a lot of you guys don't know this. We met in a Twitch stream. Um, we're not gonna get into that because the guy's a complete dick now. But we met in a Twitch stream.
You sure that didn't happen at SummerSlam 2016? Because I remember me and you
I
talking
promise
about
you
this
that.
match.
I promise you because remember this. Seth Rollins was hurt. Remember, Seth Rollins was hurt in 2016. He came back and he was fighting Roman.
Yeah, you're right. You're
And
right.
remember that because Cena wasn't champion in 2016.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
That was
Okay.
15.
So, are you going with Theory or Lashley?
I'm gonna go with Lashley just because I don't think they're gonna do that with Theory,
I'm
but I
gonna
wouldn't
go.
be surprised if they did.
I'm gonna go with Theory because the fact I think that they might have. The report is, and I don't want to spoil anything for you, but the viewers need to know about this. There's a report that this Money in the Bank cash in might be a failed cash in. So
Mhm. You know what? It's a lose-lose situation. You know, you face Roman Reigns, you're gonna get your ass kicked. You face Brock, no matter at what level of pain he is, he's gonna whoop you. I mean, if you can hit him in the balls, you know, if you hit Brock in the balls, you're good.
yeah, see, Theory almost won the championship off of kicking the balls in the DDT at the Elimination Chamber.
True.
So also, they haven't talked about whether if you cash in Money in the Bank, if you cash in for both championships, if you cash in for one title. I don't know. So
Well, It's not. It's not one title anymore. If you see the match, it's the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. There's a difference. Back in 2014, when they unified the titles in Cena and Orton, it was called WWE / World Heavyweight Championship. So you could choose one or the other.
So you're going with Lashley, I'm going with Theory. Let's go
Yeah.
Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. I want to
Live.
believe. I want to think Liv can win this. I don't think. I don't think there's any good in WWE to just switch the titles back like that. All right, Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. I
This
tend
is
to.
the one that kind of gets me.
That's what I was thinking myself. Bianca's held it since WrestleMania. This is her first major pay per view defense. I could see her winning, being it's her home state and everything. It's Nashville. She grew up in Memphis. No, Knoxville. She grew up in Knoxville.
So Tennessee.
I'm gonna go with
I think
Bianca.
she walks away.
I'm gonna go
Yeah,
with
I think. I
Bianca.
think it's. I don't think they do that.
All right, Usos versus Profits with Jared at the corner.
Why do I want to say the Profits are going to win this?
I've actually fantasy booked um something because I feel like there's more than just it being in Tennessee for Jeff Jarrett to be in the corner. I've fantasy booked a Montez Ford heel turn with Jeff Jarrett as the manager for Montez Ford because I feel like you could do something cool with that.
You know what? Yeah, let's say the Usos are going to win because Montez turns heel.
Because Montez been getting real pissed lately because they keep losing.
Let's go with that. Montez turns heel.
I feel like he turns heel.
Usos retain.
No, this is my thing. I don't feel like he turns heel during the match. I feel like he turns heel after
Yeah. You
the match.
think
So,
him and Jeff attack? Him and Jeff attack?
but the
And Jeff.
problem with that is if that happens, then I don't believe
Well
that
then technically that would mean Jeff Jarrett's under a active roster
he's already under an
contract.
active wrestling contract.
No, he's not. He's under a backstage contract.
He wrestled a match in 2021 with 2020 with Elias.
Yeah, but that doesn't count, bro. That's like Logan Paul being brought in for WrestleMania.
He's under a contract with WWE. That's why I think this Ric Flair's last match is the only event we've ever seen where every major company is involved in some capacity.
Yeah, that's the real Forbidden Door.
That's the real Forbidden Door, and we'll get into that in a minute. So we're going Profits. We're going Usos with Profits heel turn.
Yeah.
All right. So next we got Roman and Brock.
Who says Angelo? Who says plot twist? Angelo isn't the one that turns heel.
No, because they do that every time with the bigger guy turning on the smaller guy. I feel like they need to switch it.
Okay.
Especially,
I
I feel like
mean,
Montez would be a really good heel.
think so.
The only problem I don't know is I don't know how good of a talker he is, which is why it would be perfect to put him with Jeff Jarrett. It would be absolutely amazing to put him with Jeff Jarrett.
Main event.
So main event is Roman Reigns and Brock, last man standing. I've seen some really
Ro-
people. I've seen some people on Reddit fantasy book the hell out of this match.
Roman Reigns wins. Roman Reigns loses the championship. And I feel like you have to make it clear that Roman Reigns loses the championship.
So you think Roman wins the match, but Theory cashes in,
I think the Usos are gonna stop a cash in.
and then Theory's going to fail the cash in?
I don't think Theory cashes in. I think the Usos are gonna be out there because it's the last man standing match, right? So this means no disqualifications. I think the Usos are gonna be out there beating the shit out of Brock because Brock's gonna be beating the shit out of Roman,
Mm-hmm.
and Theory's not gonna cash in because all three of them are already out there. So it wouldn't be
I've seen
smart.
fantasy booking that Ziggler's going to be the one that costs Theory the Money in the Bank. That he's going to go out to cash in. He's going to cash in, and that's going to set up Ziggler and Theory for the U.S. Championship, which Theory would have won earlier in the night.
personally, I just don't think.
With having Rude fully retired now, Ziggler's got to have something to do.
Is it just me or is okay? So do you ever have? Never mind. We'll talk about this later. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
But I'm gonna go with a Roman retain because I've said this. I've been betting to get Roman in a bunch of different pay per views. I bet against him with Cesaro. I bet against him with Bryan one time. I bet against him with Edge and Bryan at Mania. I'm not betting against him anymore. It's the same with Valente and Jake Paul. He's bet against him in almost every fight. Jake's proved him wrong.
I'm betting against him in this upcoming fight. There's absolutely no logical way that he wins this.
Are you going to be one of those people that says he paid the dude off if he wins again?
Yeah, because there's absolutely no way that he fucking wins this. But we'll talk about that too. Talk about that in the next episode, because that'll be something to talk about.
So I'm going Roman. Valente's going Roman, right?
Yeah.
All right. So now that's all WWE stuff covered. Now we can get into Ric Flair's last match, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this is kind of where Valente sits back because he really doesn't know a lot about like more independent stuff. So as of right now, we are 7 days, 17 hours, and 5 minutes and 23 seconds from one of the biggest independent events probably of all time. There's never been this many companies all together. Forbidden Door was a big one.
Yeah. Can I read all the companies that are a part of it?
Yeah, go ahead.
AEW, Black Label Pro, DDT Pro Wrestling, Future Stars of Wrestling, Impact, AAA, MLW, NWA, New Japan, OVW, uh, Progress Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Revolver, Ring of Honor, uh, Terminus, Modern Age Grappling, and WWE.
Okay, so the final card of the show is as follows. This is what we have right now so far. Their card subject to change, all that bullshit. But to start off, we have the Bunkhouse Battle Royal, which has reported to have Bully Ray in it. It's also been reported that
That's what it says. It says Bully Ray, isn't it?
so it's also been reported that there's going to be some sort of like golden boot like trophy presented to the winner of the Bunkhouse Battle Royal because that was a Dusty Rhodes idea, and they want to give somebody a Dusty Rhodes trophy. So that's something. Then we have a AAA match between. Hold up. We have a AAA match between Laredo Kid, Bandito, Black Taurus, and Ray Phoenix. Laredo Kid's been all over the world. AEW. I think he did some matches for AEW Dark. I might be wrong about that, but he did AAA definitely. He's done Impact definitely. Bandito was former Ring of Honor World Champion. He got beat by Jonathan Gresham. Um, Black Taurus is a guy that you wouldn't typically see in Luchador. He's a massive 290 brute that can just do these crazy somersaults and shit off the ropes. I ain't never seen nothing like it. And then you got Ray Phoenix, who's probably on the list for top 10 best wrestlers on the planet. So that match is going to be incredible. Then you have a New Japan Strong contest with Clark Connors facing Rena Natarka. I think that's right.
Did you say Bandito's 290 pounds?
No, Black Taurus is 290 pounds.
Oh, okay.
And then you got I think it's
He's
Ren.
200 pounds.
No, not Black Taurus. No,
Yes, Black Taurus is 200 pounds.
there's no way he's 200 pounds.
Yeah, he's 5'11", 200 pounds. Yeah.
Does he not look massive to you?
I mean, compared to all the luchadors, I mean, yeah.
Maybe that's what it is the fact he faces so many luchadors, but he looks massive to me. Maybe I'm confusing him for somebody else that used to be an Impact. Because I swear this dude was bigger than that. No, he's in Impact. Maybe I'm just wrong. All right, he's 200 pounds. but I would have swore he was bigger. Anyway,
Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
so we have Clark Connors, New Japan Strong. He was in the AEW All Atlantic Championship Fatal 4-Way at Forbidden Door. He's actually the guy that took the pinfall, but was the guy that was the replacement for Tomohiro Ishii, and he was actually getting a standing ovation in the match because he did so well in it as a replacement. He's facing Rin Narita.
Connor's got replaced, right?
No, Tomohiro Ishii got replaced in the Fatal 4-Way at Forbidden Door, and Clark Connors was the one that came in as his replacement.
Okay.
So that's an NJPW strong match. And then we have, I guess you would call an NWA/MLW match with the Briscoes taking on the Von Erichs. So the Von Erichs was a legendary Texas family. Were the main Texas
Weren't they WWE too?
um the Texas Tornado. Kerry was the Texas Tornado in the 80s and the 90s, but none of the other ones made it because the Von Erichs are a legendary cursed family. They had like 5 brothers. The one dad had like 5 brothers, and out of them, 4 of them are dead. So,
Mm.
and then the Briscoes are the Briscoes, one of the best brother tag teams of all time. Then you've got Killer Cross. This is an MLW match. You got Killer Cross, the former Karrion Cross, facing Davey Boy Smith, the former Davey Boy Smith. So then
Former
probably
Davey Boy Smith.
probably in my opinion was going to be match of the night. And as much as I love Ric Flair, and as much as I think Ric Flair is awesome, this is going to be match of the night because we haven't seen this team up in almost years, and this is going to be match of the night. We have the American Wolves, the team of Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, a team that has not teamed together since 2017, 2016, face, in my opinion, one of the best tag teams of all time, the Motor City Machine Guns. And that is going to be an excellent match. Then you got Impact Knockout champion Jordan Grace taking on Deonna Purrazzo, the artist Deonna Purrazzo, and Rachel Ellering, the daughter of former AOP manager and Road Warriors manager Paul Ellering.
Oh, Larry.
So then,
Oh, Rush. Is that what I'm thinking of?
what?
Is the Road Warriors? Or is
Yeah,
that
ooh, Red Rush, yeah. And then we
What a
have
Rush?
the Impact World Championship match where the Walking Weapon, Josh Alexander, takes on Jacob Fatu. Fun fact, is the cousin of Roman Reigns. Just fun
Mm.
fact. Um,
His uncle is Rikishi.
so the main event is Ric Flair and Andrade Cien Andrade Elidolo, Andrade Cien Almas
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Jeff Jarrett has a packed schedule for Saturday and Sunday.
For this weekend, I mean, really, honestly, for this weekend, he's got a pretty
He's
packed
got an
schedule.
interview too for Starcast on Friday, so he's gonna be up
Do
there
you
for like
do
two
you
three
know where
hours.
this is taking place at? Do you know like what city this is in?
Nashville.
Oh, okay, never mind. Then he doesn't really have to do much.
It's at the it's
Traveling.
they have a sold out 15,000 seat building. It's a massive event.
You don't really gotta do much traveling then, I guess, huh?
Yeah, all that is in the same. I want to make sure because I feel like people might prove me wrong if I hold to the statement that it's 15,000. They've sold out
It's in Nashville.
the auditorium, which can hold the Manipul. They had to move it from the Nashville Flair grounds
Nine
because
thousand seven hundred.
so it's almost 10,000. So I was almost right.
Okay.
So and they've sold it out. So it's a massive event. Um, I have a feeling that Rick isn't going to be able to do much because he's recovering from this ankle injury. He didn't want to pull from the match because of it, but he is recovering from an ankle injury. So that might be a little bit of a problem. But besides
Do you
that,
remember what the original match was?
the original match they had planned was Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, but Hogan pulled himself. That was it.
Actually, no, this is the original match. The original match was Ric Flair and FTR versus Ricky Steamboat and the Rock and Roll Express. However, Ricky Steamboat turned it down.
And then they went with, um, or it may have been like they had asked Hogan to do it and he didn't want to. It was something like that. Cause they,
What a way to go out there. You're teaming with your daughter's husband.
yes, and I still think, and I feel like WWE's gonna have more involvement in the show because Jeff's coming out with um, what was her name? Karen.
J-E,
She's
double F,
she's coming
J-A,
out with
double R.
Karen Jarrett, the former Karen Angle, by the way. Fun fact.
Mhm.
What you didn't know about that? V?
Sexy Carrot's not so sexy now, huh?
What?
Said sexy Carrot's not so sexy now, huh?
Perk Angle. Anyway.
Perk Angle.
Anyway. Um. But yeah, I think it's really going to be a good event. I think it's going to draw a lot of money. Actually, I feel like a lot of people are interested in seeing the card. I feel like they've done really good storytelling for it. And oddly enough, Ric Flair in the promotion for this match has really came off more as the heel, in my opinion. Y'all can if anybody's watching this that has seen any of this, wants to drop y'all's opinion in the comment section, y'all can. But Flair's really came off as the heel to me in this. All right, so I think we're done with the WWE and wrestling section overall. So, what we got?
For me, I'm not that much of an indie guy, but I wouldn't pay to watch this because it's $50. But I will definitely try and find an illegal stream.
Hey, you don't admit that.
What? The government ain't watching this. Oh.
I said, no.
All right. Is that all we got for the wrestling side?
I believe so. Yes.
All right, moving on. We're gonna continue with our combat sports. We're gonna go on to UFC Fight Night, which happened today, or as you guys are seeing this, probably yesterday. We got a pretty stacked card for a Fight Night, and then we got next week we got UFC 277.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm not as deep of a guy with these fighters, because a lot of these fighters I don't like to watch the fight nights a lot. It just depends on who's fighting and if I got any stake in it. But we're gonna get into like the more important things. Alexander Gustafsson, I think he made a return today. I think this was his first fight since 2020, since July 2020, and he took a L unfortunately. I think his last win was in 2017, so he hasn't won a fight in 5 years. Um, to be fair, he's only fought 6 times in the last 5 years. But then we got everyone's favorite. Well, actually, we'll start from the bottom. We got Molly McCann. Also, as a lot of people know, this is like Paddy Pimblett's teammate. His best friend, whatnot. Underrated fighter. I think that she might, make her way into the flyweight rankings soon. She got a knockout win in round one, easy W. And of course, we got everyone's favorite, the lad, Patty the Batty. And you were singing a chant earlier. Can you sing that chant real quick?
Oh, Patty the Batty. Oh, Patty the Batty.
And the fight went a lot. The fight was actually not just completely one-sided. After I watched it back,
Oh,
I was
Patty the
unfortunately
Batty.
unfortunately I was asleep during the entire card because it was so early in the day. Even though that fight didn't happen until like 3 in the afternoon, I was asleep during it. And the fight wasn't as one-sided as I thought it would be. Jordan Leavitt, hitting over 85% of his strikes, 85% of his punches, his kicks. He landed 3 takedowns, and Patty ultimately came out with the submission win, and he did exactly what he said he was going to do, and teabag him. He teabagged him like it's a Modern Warfare 2 lobby. Um, yeah, I thought that was cool. And then after the fight, he revealed that one of his friends had committed suicide the day of the weigh-in, and he gave like a really inspiring speech. Let me go on to the main event. Curtis Blazers, Tom Aspinall. Definitely a weird fight. I mean, I think it could have gone either way if the fight would have happened. Unfortunately, it didn't really happen. Tom Aspinall, I think he tore his ACL 15 seconds in the kick, and his knee just, I mean, you really can't see it, but something happened to his knee there. And Curtis Blades got the win, but I think they're going to run that back again sometime soon. But I think it's time that people put respect on Curtis Blades' name, but I think Tom Aspinall should definitely be up there too. And I think if this fight happened again, I don't know. I think Tom Aspinall could do something. I think he's got a real fighting chance.
All right, so
All
is that
right, now on
everything
to
for the
UFC
fight night?
277. Well, yeah, that's for the fight night. Then we got UFC 277, which is the fight card that's happening next week on July 30th, same day as SummerSlam. Uh, I think I'm only
I,
gonna
I really,
focus.
I'm really starting to think Dana has a problem with Vince or WWE in general. He is always running
Well,
events opposite.
well, to be fair, this was announced like 4 months ago.
Somebody has a problem with somebody because WWE and
I don't have a problem because they hosted Vince and Triple H and Pat McAfee
they did
during
they did do
UFC
that.
276,
But also the reason for
like
that I
right after
figured
the main
out is
event.
because Adesanya didn't have permission to do the Undertaker thing.
Well, Undertaker gave him his blessing, so I know Undertaker gave him the blessing, but I don't think he had like copyrighted permission though.
Yeah, that was the
But
thing.
anyway, yeah, we got a pretty stacked card. Um, I don't think there's any like major prelim fights that we should go over, but
Talk to me when
we got
Connor comes back.
a anyway we got a pretty stacked main card. We got Mogamed Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith. Personally, I think Mogamed is gonna win that because I'm pretty sure Khabib's his coach too. Might be wrong, but um, I think Khabib literally coaches every Russian guy. If I'm correct, Khabib is his coach right now, but trainer. Never mind, his trainer is not Khabib. But yeah, every Russian in the UFC is like OP as hell, and think he'll pull out the win against Anthony Smith, a guy who I don't think has won a major fight in some time. Oh, actually, he has won a couple of fights, but they weren't that major. Oh, this is gonna be his first like really major fight in a long time. Then we got Wait, never mind. Then we got Derek Lewis. Oh, nope, never mind. Okay. Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez. I think Alex Perez is going to come up with the W there. He's younger, taller. I mean, they're not much younger than each other, but Alex Perez is taller, and I think he might be able to use that reach advantage. But Alex Perez is, I'm pretty sure recently he had a major win. Um, no, actually, recently all of his fights have been canceled. He was supposed to fight last week. Uh, oh my God, he hasn't fought. Holy shit. Okay, yeah, he hasn't fought since 2020. Every fight that he has had lined up has been canceled. His last fight was for the flyweight championship. He lost by submission in the first round. Uh, well, I don't think this might go well for him. Never mind. Let me take that back. The cannibal, I don't know how you say his name. Okay, he's Brazilian. Pantoja, I think.
Don't worry,
I
I had
think Natalia
probably
might
this
win this
dude
one.
from Japan's name.
Are you talking about the dude who gets punched and doesn't feel shit?
No, there was a dude from Japan that was fighting Clark Connors on the Ric Flair card, and I could not pronounce his name.
Oh yeah, okay. Other than that, that's a pretty good match. That's a pretty good matchup. Now we got Derek Lewis versus Sergey Pavlovich. Um, Now I think this is going to be a one-sided fight. Derek Lewis is 7 years older, and Sergey has a 5-inch reach advantage. He's also 15-1, and Derek Lewis has not been doing too hot recently. I think he literally got his ass kicked like 6 months ago. Yeah, he got fucking knocked out by Tui, and Tui hit a shoey on him. So then we got Brandon Moreno defending the flyweight championship against Kai Kara France. I think Brandon Moreno's gonna win that, retain. And then we got the main event: Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes. I think Amanda Nunes is gonna get that title back. I think that last fight was a fluke, honestly. I think last fight, I think Amanda wasn't on her game, and I think Amanda can get that title back. Other than that, that's all we got for UFC today. Or combat sports, yeah. All right, what we got next?
We have the NFL, right?
All right, yep. So, do you wanna do the segment that I made up first, or do you wanna do
Yes,
the
yes. Let's
division
do that.
preview?
Let's do that.
All right. So, I have a new segment called Guess That Stat Line, where I put up a person's stat line on the screen, or I could just say it out loud, and you'd have to guess who that is.
Okay.
So, this one is a quarterback.
Okay. Quarterback. Here, I'm gonna start a. I'm gonna start a timer for what's a good time? 60 seconds.
60 seconds. Okay, yeah, 60 seconds, 60 seconds. I'm gonna read off this game list, and you have to tell me who it is. I'm not telling you who it's against. Just gonna read off the stat line they put in the game.
All right.
Put on
Timer.
60 seconds. Let me know when you're ready.
60 seconds. All right. Go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
214 yards, one interception.
That's his whole stat line for the year.
No, this is for the game. You know what? Restart this. Let me explain this a little bit better. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go game by game,
Mm-hmm.
and if you can't get it by that certain game, you can say next. I'll go on to the next game.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start. Get ready to start again in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right.
239 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
All right. That's week one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not gonna say it like that. It's this certain week.
Okay.
209 yards, 3 interceptions.
Okay.
199 yards, 2 touchdowns.
All right. It's quarterback. Do they play in the AFC?
No, 375 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
All right. They play in the NFC East.
No, 214 yards and 1 interception. You have
NFC
now
West.
gotten every game. No,
NFC North.
no.
So that means it's an NFC
Let me
West.
see that timer, by the way. I want you cheating.
NFC
Okay.
West.
No.
What do you mean?
Final guess. I'll give
So,
you. I'll give you 2 more questions. I'll give you 2 more questions.
so he doesn't play for no team in the NFC?
Oh, you said NFC West twice.
I've said North, West, East, NFC South.
Yes, that's one question. 2 more or one more.
Okay. Okay, let me think. Ooh, does this team have black in their logo? Does any of these teams have? Does this team have black in their logo?
Black anywhere in the logo? Let's take a look.
Yes.
In the outline.
Carolina Panthers.
No. So that's your last question. Final guess.
Matt Ryan.
Wrong. It's Tom Brady against the Saints.
Bro, you weren't going game by game though, bruh. I thought we were
Yeah.
doing.
What? Well, like I said, it wasn't. It doesn't have to be for a certain season. It could just be overall. I'll read his overall stat line to you. Since I'll read his overall stat line: 1,236 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Well, let me put it let me put it a different way. Tom Brady versus the Saints as a Buccaneer there,
See, I was
because he
thought we
played
were
the Saints
doing
before.
the stats for a whole season. That's my bad.
It doesn't got to be like that. It doesn't got to be like that. That's the lesson that you learned this episode. All right, question of the day. Question of the day before we get into anything else.
Okay.
Should WWE 2K ratings matter as much as Madden ratings?
No. No.
Why?
Because I think because it's still the fact that it's a more of like a show. It's more of like an actor type thing, so it shouldn't matter as much.
Okay, let me change this question then. Should ratings matter based off of the way that they perform as their like role?
Yes, that's how they should matter. Yes.
So should our truth be a 99 because he's a comedic nigga?
No, it should be like how their role is designed. Like Truth wouldn't be able to. Like we saw, Truth got destroyed by Almost, and Almost is what, like an 80 in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So like that brutally defines my point. Like one of the stupidest takes I've ever heard, and I think this dude's stupid, and he's probably gonna end up blocking me on Twitter because it's what he does when he gets fucking insulted. But Ryback's this like thing he pitched to Vince was every wrestler should be paid the same no matter what their role is on the card because they're told what to do. That is one of the
Yeah.
stupidest things I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, I don't know. It just depends. Not all wrestlers. I think, like, The Miz isn't a main event guy, but I think he's the highest paid in WWE right now, right?
Brock's making 13 mil a year.
Okay, well, besides Brock, The Miz, right?
Roman's making 5,
Okay, where's The Miz rank there?
like 7th. AJ's making more than him.
Yeah, so, like, AJ and Miz are a perfect example.
Miz makes a bunch of his money off of like extra stuff he does.
I like the TV show and shit.
Yeah, Dancing with the Stars, shit like that.
Okay. Yeah, he's like their, what do you call
He's
it?
the definition of a promotional guy. He's the company guy.
He's like their public spokesperson type shit.
Yeah. Which I'm hoping
Alright,
that
it's time. Wait, say that again?
I'm hoping that doesn't end up causing like problems with now that Vince is gone. Like some of the guys that really liked Vince, like Miz and all a bunch of them. I hope they don't end up living like Dolph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Alright, it's time. Main event, NFC East divisional preview.
NFC East. So
So
that's
previously, if you guys watched the last episode, we did the NFC North. We've determined that somehow either the Detroit Lions or the Minnesota Vikings win, based on what the outcome of the tiebreakers are. So
so. Let me pull
I
up the
think we've
NFC.
established last. I think we established
So
last
who we
season that
going
the
with
tiebreaker
first?
would go down to points scored.
So who we going with first? Philly.
NFC East. So you want to start with the team that had the most impactful offseason out of all of them,
That's what people
or do you
say.
want to
So
go from
let's go with the Philadelphia Eagles because that's what people say.
who had a better offseason than them
The Las Vegas Raiders, the Los
in the
Angeles
NFC East?
Chargers.
That's the question. In the NFC East.
Oh, in the NFC East, the Eagles.
Okay, so therefore, that's not what I'm not going at. They didn't have the most impactful offseason. No, they didn't. In the NFC East, yes, they did, but nowhere else. Anyway, let's
Because
take a
all
look at
the
the roster. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, because all they did was go out and get AJ and then draft
Zach
Jordan Davis.
Pascal. Yeah, and their draft is really good too.
Wait, so let's look at the
Jordan
roster.
Davis. I think they got. Okay. I think their O line's the strong suit. Would that be a reach?
Their
Say
offensive
that.
line's old though. It's like
Yeah, but you don't gotta be young to be good at the O line, though. I think
no,
that's
but
a
like
lot
their
of.
offensive line's really old. Like Lane Johnson, they got Jason Kelsey who's taking some steps back. Landon Dickerson's good.
Do you think that's a reach to say that O line's the strong suit, though?
Their right guard's not great. Jordan Malata's like 40. Their O
Jordan
line,
Mailata's 40.
if I'm not wrong, isn't he?
He was in his 20s.
He is. He's 25. What the fuck?
Okay. Anyway,
No, I'm thinking of Villanueva. My bad. I'm thinking of Villanueva. My bad. I don't even know why I even mentioned that. There was yeah, that's my bad. I was thinking of somebody
all right.
completely
Let's
different.
let's take a look at the. You want to go with the offense first?
Yeah, let's go with the offense. Jalen Hurts, who
All right.
still has a lot to prove, but I think is actually a really good talent.
Yep.
He's in the same boat with Trey Lance for me, dude. Remember how we
No, bruh.
remember how we've been having the
Look,
conversation
Jalen Hurts has had the opportunities though.
and
I mean, he hasn't had like the great offense. He's never had a great offense.
okay, V. Last year was his rookie year, right?
No, second year.
No, he's 23. There's no way.
Last year was his second year. He got drafted the same year as Joe Burrow. Remember, second round, first pick.
Okay. Well, last year was his first year as a starter, at least.
No, he started his rookie year because Carson Wentz got hurt.
Hold up, I'm trying to find it then. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right. You're right.
That's
All right, so in 2020,
2020.
2020, he had 148 completions, 148 attempts for 77 completions, 6 TDs, 4 picks.
Rookie year. Sacked 13 times.
He was sacked 13 times. This is the problem I have, because you'll see what I'm saying. He had 400 attempts, which is actually a lot of attempts. It's not like insanely high, but that's a high. He had a QBR of 48, which is higher than his previous year. He had a 60% completion percentage, which isn't bad. He had 3,000 yards, 16 TDs, 9 picks. That's a lot of interceptions. But the problem
But
with,
let's talk about who he was doing it with, though.
I understand that. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm being like kind of understanding. And I'm getting to where like 26 sacks isn't a lot. So you shouldn't be throwing that many incompletions when you're not getting hit a lot.
Yeah.
But now where he really did perform well is he ran for 784 yards and 10 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
Lowered his fumble rate too, 4 fumbles. He had 6 his rookie year, not bad.
To be fair, he was running more this year too. So the fact that he had six fumbles in a year that he wasn't doing too much in,
Is a problem.
you know, yeah. But he lowered that, so he improved there.
It's just
So
like
let's just say overall he had 26 touchdowns to 9 interceptions.
he had
Do you
26.
want to put it like that?
No, I'm gonna put it as in he had 26 touchdowns to 13
10
turnovers.
turnovers. 10 turnovers. He only lost one of those fumbles.
Okay, then 23. Is it 23? 26.
20,
26
20,
touch.
26 to 10.
All right, 26 to 10. That's not awful.
That's not awful, yeah. That's not.
It's just you just hope when you go out and spend big money to put more pieces around him that he performs better. Is what I'm
I
trying
don't
to get
think he
at.
will, honestly, because you think about how decent he did with just Devontae Smith and, I mean, Kaz Watkins. That's really all that comes to
Hopefully
mind.
he has a.
They bring in
Hopefully they
AJ
give
Brown.
Hopefully they give Kenneth Gainwell more of a shot to get some carries because I'm like I've said this. Miles Sanders is good to me, but he's not going to be able to be that carry guy that they're going to need. Their game's going to be very much run centric if they're going to want to succeed. Especially we have Jalen Hurts at quarterback. They're not going to need to have him throwing the ball 500-600 times a year. I'd like the way they're standing, where they're having him throw like 300-400 times a year. That's more like it, and having him run a lot more. He had 138, not 138 carries. He had like 100. Let me look at this. Maybe I saw something wrong. I don't want to say something and be wrong. He had
He's not that bad.
he had
He had
130.
700. He had a 754 yards, averaged 5.5 yards per carry. He didn't have a touchdown though. I think that's what everyone's getting at.
Who?
Miles Sanders, he didn't have a touchdown.
No, it's not just that. I just don't think compared to what they need at running back, he's not that.
Yeah,
This is
I
what
don't
I'm
think he's
saying.
bad though.
This is what I'm saying. They need to have stuff like this happen. Like they need to keep that throwing range between 300 to 400 and keep um Jalen's run numbers up like this. He had 140 attempts last year running the ball.
Yeah.
They need to keep his numbers like that, and to do that, you need a good running back to be able to play off the read option game. And if you are having Miles Sanders, who's not really a threatening running back on the ground,
Mhm.
I feel like a guy that would really fit in good in Philly would be a guy like Zeke. Zeke would be really good in Philly, I think,
If it ain't
personally.
Zeke, it's Tony Pollard.
Somebody, not even a Dallas running back, just like a bigger guy like that would fit in really good in Philly.
Like AJ Dillon,
Like somebody like an AJ Dillon, like a bigger back, like not typical.
Latavius Murray.
Mark Ingram would fit in good in Philly.
All right, bro. Relax.
All right, then we get into receivers, okay, which is they've got some really good guys. They got Deion Kane from Clemson. He's a good guy that can come in as like an extra receiver. They got Jalen Rager, who hasn't really
Pascal.
panned out the way they really want him to. They have Zach Pascal, who came from Indianapolis. They got Quez Watkins, who I think did good for them last year, did he not?
Yep.
They drafted Devontae Smith.
650 yards.
They drafted Devontae Smith, who was their no doubt number one last year. And then they get AJ
Yep.
Brown, who has had some injury concerns, but people still believe that he can be a really good receiver, and I don't disagree with that. He could be a really good receiver.
I'm gonna go ahead
I
and throw this out there. I don't know if any of you know. I don't know if we said this in the first episode. Cass is a Titans fan, so this is very. This is he's trying to be as unbiased as he is possible.
He can be a good receiver. I just have my own personal opinions on some problems that he had his last 2 years in Tennessee, which is what I think caused for the trade a lot more than people want to talk about. I feel like he very much blamed us for the way that he became a worse receiver his last year and a half in Tennessee. But
When did he blame y'all?
no, I'm not saying like publicly, but I feel like that's why he wanted to leave. Is because he very much blamed us for the way.
I don't think it's like that. I
Anyway,
think he just wanted more money.
it's hard to ask for that money when you barely went over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, but when you see the dude when he's healthy, bro, like if he's fully
Is
healthy, man's gonna spaz.
under
Even when
where
he isn't fully healthy, he still spazzes. I
where
mean,
does
think
why?
about it. You and I'm
All right,
actually kind
Lee.
of understanding it now. Like
All right,
Jacksonville doesn't have a number one receiver. If they're trying to get a number one receiver, Christian Kirk pried that money out of them.
all right. Let's understand something. You brought this up recently. If a receiver gets 1,000 yards a year on 16 games, what is that? 60 yards a game.
Mm-hmm.
All
A
right,
little bit less, more like 58.
all right, 58 yards a game. When has that been top 10? I've heard people say AJ Brown is top 10. He has never in his year averaged over 1100 yards. Ever in his career, he's been in the league 3 years. People are calling him
I
a
said he
top
was top
10.
10. I said he was top 15. He ain't top 10, though.
I think it's difficult to say he's as good as he is when the most yards he's ever got is 1175. I mean, is 1075, and that was on 100 fucking targets.
100 targets. That's only 100 targets. 100 targets. 70 catches. He only got 70 catches.
Then his first
It's the
year,
fact that he's getting these big numbers on such low catch numbers.
but all of that comes
You
down to
think about
be
it, he averages almost 2 first downs a catch.
all that comes down to be is his run after catch ability, which he does have. But then you got seasons like in 2020 when he was desperately needed for the team. He played 14 games out of 16. Then in 2021, where we really needed
To
our
be
receiver,
fair, to be fair, in 2020 you had Corey Davis.
so it was understandable more for him to miss games. In 2021, we needed AJ on the field, and he missed what 4 games, 3 games, and
Last year
many.
was a drop off year, but the way that you talk about him, you can't call him a bum just because he dropped off 100
I'm not
yards.
saying he's a bum. I've never said that. What I think is I really think he phoned in that last year with Tennessee, wanting to go to a new team the next offseason. I feel like he phoned in that last year with Tennessee
Why would he do that?
because you have because one he was wanting a new contract after the 2020 year. That was already known. He wanted a new contract after a new extension after that year. We didn't give it to him,
Well,
so
let
he
me
went.
explain to you why he got this big, like amount of money. When you go out and you look for a wide receiver one,
It's
they're
run
automatic.
at.
If you tell them that they're going to be the number one receiver, they're going to ask for number one receiver money.
I understand that,
If
but
the team gives to
the
them,
thing
they give it to
is
them.
with Philly having Devontae. Devontae is a number one receiver. He just has that skill set to be a number one receiver. I feel like it's going to hurt Devontae's development having AJ on this team. Philly, I think that the front office believes they can win with this team that they have. That's my thought process. I feel like Philly believes that they can win with this team. I don't know if they're right. I don't know if they're wrong. We're going to have to look into that in a minute. But I believe they think they can win with this team, which is why they went out and got AJ Brown. I feel like if they don't believe they can win with this team, they would go out and get a smaller guy like Juju, who I think could have fit this team a lot better as a number 2 guy. You let Devontae be the 1, you let Quez be the 3, and you build your offense with younger players. AJ's still a young player. He's only 25. That's not what I'm saying. But you're stunting Devontae's growth, only letting him be the second receiver when you truly believe he can be the number 1.
They said he still can't be the number one though.
Well, AJ, you just said that you believe AJ is the number 1 receiver on this team, right?
I mean, yeah, they went up to get a number one receiver.
All right, they're paying him number 1 receiver money for multiple years.
I mean, to be fair though, like they don't have any other like really good receiver.
That's what I'm saying. If you believe, what I'm thinking is they don't believe Devontae can be the number 1 for this team. Is why they went out and got AJ. But anyway, let's get into the schedule.
That's what you think to give someone $100 million. So, uh, so yeah, we gotta get to the schedule now.
I don't remember what we said last week
We
for the
said Philly wins the
but
opener.
against Detroit. Did they win the second one against Minnesota? I don't remember.
Oh, let's just go off the head. I say
I
no.
All right. So what? I'm thinking 3-1 through the first 4 games.
You think they beat Minnesota? Or wait, no. Think they beat Detroit, Washington, and Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think 3-1
Okay,
through the first 4.
sure.
Arizona's going to be a good game. I believe they could win that one.
Without D Hop, without D Hop, without D
Yeah,
Hop,
so they
without D
could
Hop.
win that one because you got to also think Philly's got a really good defense, especially secondary. They signed Jaquisti
Mhm.
Tartt. They have James Bradbury, Big Play Slay, who's criminally underrated, and I believe is right
Facts.
there. I believe he's right there with Jalen Ramsey as the number one, number two corner in the league. Personally,
He's up there with Jalen Ramsey, but he's top 5 for sure.
like, cause
I think people
no,
underrate
cause
him,
it's
but I
not.
don't think he's
It's not
Ramsey.
even that. It's not even that. Because you've got to look at this is gonna come off weird. Darius Slay is a better Trayvon Diggs. He gives you that ability to score points on defense, which gives the name Big Play Slay. But he gives you the opportunity to score points on defense and not give up the massive yards that Trayvon did. Trayvon gave up over 1,000 yards last year.
Right.
So I think he's a better Trayvon Diggs. Then we got Arizona.
Okay.
We got Dallas. Speaking of
4
Trayvon
and
Diggs,
1. So,
you think they beat Dallas?
I think they won this one too. I think they won this one too. 5 and 1.
All right, 5-1. We're going Pittsburgh. I'm
No.
so high on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wins that one.
Yeah,
They
Pittsburgh
beat
wins. As long
Houston.
as Kenny Pete, you said this last episode.
As
As
long as
long as
Kenny
Kenny
Pickett
Pickett
is
is halfway
decent,
decent.
he's just
Yep.
decent.
So they're 5 and 2 at this point.
Yeah, they beat they beat Houston. They beat Washington
Yep.
again.
7 and 2.
They beat Washington again. Is that 7-2 still? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Do you think they'll lose to Indianapolis?
Oh, I don't know yet.
Jordan
I think it's
Davis. Jordan. Jordan Davis is going to be massive in that game if he plays because
no. 8 and 2.
8-2, and Jordan's going to be massive in the Titans game too. All right. The way I'm looking at the schedule, that's their real hard mark. Those 11, 12, 13. That's their hard 3-game stretch.
I think they lose to Green Bay though.
So you think
So I
Indy?
think at this
You
point
think Indy
they're 9
win?
and 3, I think.
You think
Or
Indy
8
win?
and
Green
3.
Bay loss. Titans win.
Let's see, they're 8 and 3 at this
Like
point.
Indy beat. I mean, Philly beats Indy. Green Bay beats Philly. Philly beats Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with
They're
that. I think
9 and 3.
9-3.
They beat New
They beat
York. They
they
beat
beat
Chicago.
Chicago. They beat Dallas. They beat New
11 and
Orleans.
3. I think they lose to Dallas this time.
They lose to Dallas. Do you think
11
they?
and 4. I think they beat New Orleans, honestly, because that's the game we walk into and lose every year.
So what? 12
12
and
and
4.
4. And they're going to lose to New York because that's a fucking end of year game that always fucks somebody up.
Well, they
So,
don't need to win that game anyway. They'll probably sit players. What are their records?
12 and 5.
12-5. Not bad. Not bad. That's probably good enough to win the division too.
Well, for sure. Don't even, let's just say, don't even question that.
No, because we got to look at
All right.
Dallas. We got to look at Dallas though. We can't just say that.
Let's, well, let's look at Dallas. Let's go to Dallas next.
We shouldn't even really
All
waste our
right, here we
times
go.
with Washington and fucking.
We're going to, though. All right. Receiving core is probably their low now. I think CeeDee Lamb leading is fine, but Michael Gallup being a number 2, I'm not sure about that. Running back room is solid, elite. Um, Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. You know, a lot of people have their doubts about him.
Stack.
Dalton Schultz is
He's a stack. Oh my god. What? How do you say this?
a
A
stat
stat
stacker.
stuffer. Yeah.
Yeah,
He ends up
yeah, yeah.
almost every year finishing with almost 5,000 yards, and they don't even make the playoffs.
Yeah. Dalton Schultz. He's a really good tight end. I think he's a top 8 tight end, maybe.
Dalton's really good. Their offensive line's good too.
Yeah, the offensive line is really good.
That
And their
third that
defense, I
third
think their
receiver,
defense took a step back a little bit.
their third receiver option's kind of a problem. Their corners are good. Anthony Brown, Trayvon Diggs, Kelvin Joseph from Kentucky. They got Deshaun Wright from Oregon State.
Jaron Curse is pretty good.
Jerron Curse is
Malik
pretty.
Hooker,
He was all right with Indy.
Yeah, and then Michael Parsons saw Lander Vander Esch is I think he's okay
He's
now.
had some injury problems, but he's all right.
And then
Michael
everyone up except for DeMarcus Lawrence is, in my opinion, not relevant.
Dante Fowler's pretty good. How did he do last year? Let me look. He's kind of their guy that I'm guessing that they're trying to replace for Randy Gregory. He had 5 sacks last year.
4.5, three-fourths fumbles though. So I don't know. It's a pretty solid defense.
It's a solid squad
No, no, no.
altogether. I don't know if it's a 12-5 squad though.
Well, let's check. Let's do the math.
They lose the first 2 games.
Yeah, they dropped the first two to Tampa and Cincy, and they take New York, so they're 1-2. They're going to take Washington, that's 2-2. Lose to LA,
Uh huh.
2-3. They're going to lose to Philly, two and
Mhm.
four. Beat Detroit, Chicago, four and
4 and
four.
4. Beat Green Bay.
5-4. I think they lose to Minnesota.
Lose to Minnesota. Beat New York.
5-5, 6-5.
Um,
Hmm. Man, Indy is so much better than what like the roster shows.
they're bro. Everybody thinks that just because they bought in Matt Ryan, they're going to be so much better than they were last year. It's not just
But you
that.
understand Carson Wentz's like downfall of
I
that
don't. I
team,
don't even
though.
want to say. I don't want to hear that. No, because it wasn't. It wasn't just Carson. It was a mentor, Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor only went for like 40, 50 yards against Jacksonville when they had full pace to win that game and go into the playoffs, and he failed.
1,000 yards in the fucking year, though.
But when it mattered, he didn't get them into the playoffs.
That don't matter. It may not. It may not have to matter this year. They may already be in the playoffs before they have to fight the last game to get there.
True, true. So, what do you think? Do you think you have them beating Indy? I don't, because I think that defense is okay. I really think that defense and
You think Indy wins this?
yeah, no, I think Dallas wins this.
Okay. What's the record again?
Did we have like 6-5? 6-5, right?
Yeah, 6-5. So 7-5. They beat Houston and Jacksonville.
We had
Eight
them
and
beat
five, nine and
Philly.
five. They haven't beaten Philly. That's 10-5.
They lose to Tennessee and beat Washington. That's their records.
Okay, so it's 10-6, 11-6. So
11. They
I think
are.
it's pretty clear that the Eagles are going to win this division.
Well, that's the thing, though. That's the thing.
Um,
Dallas could beat Tennessee. They could win one of the games to start the year against Tampa or Cincinnati, and then that's automatically having them as the number one seed. Say
the
they
number one
split,
seed.
not number one seed, but having them split against either Tampa or Cincinnati and then beat Tennessee, that puts them in the front of the division. There's a lot more throw up games with
Yeah, so it
Dallas
could be between, yeah,
because we're looking at either 8 and 9 for Dallas because they could lose a lot of these hard games. Like say
12-5.
8-9 could be the worst record, and then probably about what
Yeah,
13-4 the best.
I'd say 12-5 is the best.
But I think it's clear that Philly and Dallas are the best 2 teams. New York's getting there.
Yeah,
Where New York's getting there though. New York's a QB away.
yeah. Let's go to New York. So obviously, New York's problem is the quarterback for sure.
Which they are
We don't know
still
what Kadarius Tony's gonna end up doing because that is a kinda like under the radar like trade that could happen.
they're still optimistic
Um,
that that
I
Daniel
think
could actually.
Wandale Robinson would do good.
They're still very much under the radar and like are still considering that Daniel could do good. So we gotta see how that works
Yeah,
too.
this is his prove it year.
Yeah.
Then we got Saquon, a guy who can't stay healthy, but if he does stay healthy, bad news for the league. Um, Matt Breida's a really good backup, I
Even if
think.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Even if they don't stay healthy, don't they have like a really good backup? Yeah, it is Matt Breida.
Yeah. And then we got tight end Ricky Seals Jones, underrated as hell. I'm glad they finally got Evan Ingram out of there. And we got their O line, who they really needs some work. I mean,
Which they
besides the left and right tackle, I think everything needs work.
Michael Glanowski is actually pretty good. It's
Mark
just
Lewinsky.
yeah, it's center and left guard that's their issues, which is why I think Daniel Jones is having so many problems.
Yeah.
But it's
Then we got our defense, which is taking a very huge step back,
there's
losing James Bradbury, the secondary at least.
yeah
The
like
secondary is Dory Jackson, Cordell Flott, Xavier McKinney, Julian Love.
their safeties are okay. Xavier McKinney's underrated as hell.
Who is Cordell Flott?
I have no clue. Is he a rookie?
Third round pick.
Yeah, he's a rookie this year.
Um, LSU.
He's 20 years old. They have Dexter, Leonard Williams. Their linebackers aren't bad. They could be a really underrated. Give this team a couple of years, they might be pretty good.
Yeah. Onto the schedule. Um, so I think they lose to Tennessee.
I do think so too. I think there's a way that New York could win that game though, because there's a lot of like emotion in that game because of 9/11 and stuff, and it being held on 9/11 and everything.
But it's not in New York.
No, it's not. Then you got Carolina. They probably lose that game as well. I'm high on Carolina.
Yeah. They lose to Dallas, so they're 0-3 to start.
They
Beat
beat
Chicago,
Chicago, lose to Green
1-3. They
Bay,
get their first win of the season. Lose to Green Bay.
lose to
Lose to
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Beat Jacksonville.
I don't know if they
Maybe
beat
not.
Jack. I don't know if
Maybe
they
not.
beat Jacksonville. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's say they don't beat Jacksonville. So
All
one and
right,
five.
1-5. They beat
Beat
Seattle.
Seattle. Yep.
They beat
Two
Houston. They
and
beat
five.
Houston.
Beat Houston 3-5.
Lose to Detroit.
3-6.
Lose to Dallas. Beat Washington.
3-7. 4-7.
Lose to Philly. Do you think Washington gets them the second time around?
4-8. I think they beat Washington. Second
Okay.
time around. 5-8.
And then they lose the rest of the games. Minneapolis,
Five
Indianapolis.
and 11. 5-12. My bad.
Actually, give them that game against Philly. Philly might sit their starters. I think that's what we
Yeah.
said.
Okay. So 6-10. Six
Yeah.
and 6-11. 6-11. 6-11. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Oh,
Is that better than they did last year?
sure. Uh.
All right.
Uh.
Now we're in.
Let's see. Yep. Better than they did last year. 4-13.
This Washington
Now
team
we
is
got
kind of
the final team.
this Washington team's hard to like understand. Because
Okay. We got.
on paper, this team should be really good. I don't understand.
We get Carson Wentz, starting quarterback. Again, that's not great.
He
I
went
think
he went
that
3,500 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. It's just the fact that those interceptions came in moments where he didn't need to throw interceptions. Like it's facts that he had
we
games
got
like
Antonio
this.
Gibson.
He had games like this, like against Arizona towards the end of the season. He threw 2 touchdowns, no picks to win the game against Arizona. But then you have games like Jacksonville towards the end of the season where he went 185 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick, and was sacked 6 times. Okay, that's an offensive line issue. That's not a Carson Wentz problem. Carson didn't cost him that Jacksonville game. He was sacked 6 times.
Yeah.
But Indianapolis's problem is they started off the beginning of the season so like in the can. They started off 1-4. Then played some bad teams, like some kind of bad teams in San Francisco and Houston. San Francisco's not bad, but Houston's pretty bad. They beat both of those teams. They then go on to face Tennessee, who they lose to in overtime. They beat New York. That was probably Carson's best game of the year. No, it wasn't. Well, yeah, it was because he threw 2 picks against Tampa. But
Yeah, go ahead and take this like roster breakdown over. I'll be right back and try and stall a little bit. This might take like 2 or 3 minutes. Just stall.
so with having Carson, you got to look at stuff like you got Taylor Heineke there, Sam Howell's also there. So like they got guys if Carson goes down. Sam Howell's probably the future of the team. They're going to give him an opportunity to play. You got Antonio Gibson, who's more of your pass catching running back. Then you got Brian Robinson, who's smashed the ball down the middle type guy. You got Scary Terry. You got Curtis Samuel. You got Jahan Dotson. You got Dommy Brown. You got Antonio Gandy Golden. You have Dax Millen. You got some really good guys. You got Logan Thomas playing quarterback. You drafted Big John Bates out of the University of Boise State. You got a young offensive line, not great. You got Chase Young on defense, Dorian Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat. This team should be so much better than they are. You have Holcomb, Jamon Davis, David Mayo, all guys that have been around. David Mayo's been around. Cole Holcomb's been around. Jamin Davis was out of Kentucky. Then you got Kendall Fuller and Willie Jackson, who are good. You got Benjamin St. Justus, who was okay. You got Troy Apke, aka White Lightning. Then you got Cameron Coral and Bobby McCain, who aren't great but aren't terrible. You got Joey Sly and Tress Way. When you get into their schedule, though, is what the problem is they got so many good teams. They got to place Jacksonville. That's a win. They face Detroit L, Philly L, Dallas L, Tennessee L, Chicago win. So that's 2. Fuck, that's 1-5. They lose to Green Bay. They lose to Indianapolis. They lose to Minnesota, Philly. We'll give them the win against Houston.
Okay,
No,
hold on. Go back. Let's start. You're on schedule.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
So Washington
Washington, Philly. Washington versus Jacksonville.
1-0,
1 and
1-0. They
0.
win that.
They lose to Detroit. They lose to Philly. They lose to Dallas, and they lose to Tennessee. So 1-4.
Okay.
Do they beat Chicago?
2-4.
Yes. Do they beat Green Bay?
3-4.
3-4. Do they beat Indianapolis?
4-4.
You think they beat Indy?
Yeah, you said they beat Indy.
I said, do they beat Indy?
Oh, yeah.
I said that about the last 2 games with Green Bay and Indianapolis.
Carson Wentz revenge game.
So 4-4. Do they beat Minnesota?
No, 4-5.
4-5. Philly, they lose to.
4-6.
They lose to Atlanta. They beat Houston.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Atlanta's not going to go 17, 16 and 0. 0 and
Yeah,
16.
but this isn't the team they lose to though. I got them. I got them at 6-6 against Houston and Atlanta.
Okay. What about New York? Back to back.
I think they beat them at home, but not away. So 7-7.
7-7. San Francisco, they lose.
L. That's 7-8.
I wouldn't be surprised they lose those last 3 games
So yeah,
against
seven
Cleveland
and
and
ten. That's not
Dallas.
bad. So if we look back at it, um, based off of like what we said, like goes Eagles 12-5,
Cowboys 11 and
Cowboys
6.
11-6, Washington 7-10, and Giants 6-11. So
A more competitive division. The division's getting better. Is what we're getting at.
yeah, yeah, it's getting a little bit more competitive. There's not gonna be no 8-9 team winning the division and making a playoff.
If I'm not
You're gonna have a
wrong,
legit
we
contender in the playoffs
if I'm not wrong,
representing the United
we're
States.
through all of our subjects for the week, right? For the episode.
Correct.
All right,
You're
guys.
right.
So I believe this is going to be it. I think we've hit the 2 hour mark again. We ramble for a long time. So
Yep.
this is Cass. I'm out. That is I sell for subs, aka Valente. You're going to get both of us every episode. We don't know who's going to be joining us also. We're working to get some people on. If y'all have anybody that
Hmm.
y'all would want to have on, drop them down below.
If you'd like to get on, hey, if you want to get on, go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to get
Invite
on,
anybody.
anybody can come on. So yeah, I think we're done. Bye, guys.
Yeah.